Hey, Richard Myers here. Hey, today is Friday, and next Tuesday is September 23rd, and that's the day, actually Monday, the 22nd, and Tuesday, the 23rd, is Yom Teruah. Yom meaning the day of the blowing of the trumpets. And it's a good study. I've done a number of videos on this, and it is interesting how every kook has come out of the bushes and saying that the rapture is going to take place on Tuesday and all this sort of thing. I've never said that in a definitive and a final way that we know the rapture is going to come out on Yom Teruah. I have made the case that there is some reason to believe. Some of the evidence is compelling, but the kooks have taken it way too far, talking about astrology. So I just want to say, we're not celebrating Yom Teruah or the Feast Day of Trumpets as though we were in Israel or we were Jewish. We're choosing to make a celebration of our pending departure on the day of Yom Teruah. So our celebration of our pending departure, and I've been asked what would a celebration look like, and as few as two people can get together to celebrate together. My wife and I celebrate. Sometimes the logistics of having a larger group doesn't work out, and so we celebrate together with prayer. And then what we do, now I've just put out, and I'm going to attach this to my email notifications. This is a new edition. I've added some things to it of my talking about the rapture. Now you might say, why do I make this a focus? And I just want to say that the rapture is controversial. Number one, that it exists, and number two, the timing of the rapture. And I just wanted you to have the biblical support that it's very specifically mentioned in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 51 and 52. And then it's very specifically mentioned in Thessalonians, the first epistle Paul wrote to the Thessalonian believers, and the second epistle to the Thessalonian believers. And then in regard to the timing of this, we just know one thing, that it's going to happen before the tribulation begins. And then the other thing that's very few people understand is there's a time period. There's the rapture, then a time period of maybe weeks, certainly days, weeks, months, maybe even more than a year, I don't know, between the rapture and the beginning of the tribulation, which is signaled by the signing of an agreement, a defense compact between the Antichrist and Israel. And so what happens there is the global government begins to materialize. Antichrist comes onto the scene. That's why I'm saying weeks, months, maybe even a couple of years after the rapture. And now the Spirit of God is removed with us. And so then evil will just flood the earth. And we can imagine how difficult a time that will be. So the celebration of our pending departure would unfold kind of like this. First of all, we would read those three sections of scriptures: 1 Corinthians 15, 51, and 52, 1 Thessalonians 4, chapter 4, and verse 15 through 17, and then 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 to 5. Now, I'm going to attach this, and I have all of those verses here so that you can take them down. So I would read those verses. They're very specific, and it's just good for you to attach yourself to the scripture. You don't want to be attached to some kooky guy on YouTube or some old guy like me. but I do want to then reiterate, because this is widely mistranslated, misunderstood. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. The rebellion or the apostasy there should be translated as departure, and I've made the case, and many others have made the case, many experts far more capable than I have made the case that the word should be translated departure, and it's the departure, not a departure, but the departure, which means that Paul had talked to them about this departure, and of course we see that in 1 Thessalonians and 2 Thessalonians. So it's a compelling certainty that Paul is saying that the day of the Lord, which encompasses the tribulation and the millennial reign of Christ, will not happen until we have been taken out our departure. We've been raptured and we meet the Lord in the air. And so so then we read these 3 verses. Then we would go to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. And there Paul says, I received from the Lord. I received from the Lord. And he details the Lord's Supper. So I just have some elements, some bread. If you have unleavened bread, that would be good. And then the fruit of the vine, juice. And then just read that scriptures, pray, and receive the elements together as you and your spouse or 2 people would gather together, or perhaps a number of people in celebration of our pending departure. So I would encourage you to celebrate this. And then in this write-up, I again make the case that those of us who are thinking about, anticipating, looking forward to the return of Christ and us being received and meeting him in the air, are due for a reward. And Paul says it, that the will award to me on that day. He says he's going to give a crown of righteousness. I'm in now 2 Timothy chapter 4, 6 through 8. And this is why this is important. He said, I will receive a crown of righteousness, Paul says, and not only to me, but also to all who have loved his appearance. And so I love his appearance. I hope you do as well. And I just thank you, and I hope to see you on the way up on Tuesday. But if not, we'll be here for more time, and we'll occupy until he comes. God bless you all. Look forward to seeing you.